Welcome to the DNA of the News, where we take you beyond the headlines. I am Pocho Salcedo from New York, and I'm glad you are joining us from cities across the Americas and Hawaii. In this episode, we will explore some of the most important stories happening worldwide. Stay tuned for in-depth coverage and commentary. This week, we might be faced with a conflict that has either become new or remain unresolved and ignored. This isn't a problem confined to individuals, organizations, companies, and even government can find themselves in similar situations. Unfortunately, when these conflicts escalate, they can significantly impact our quality of life. To address this issue, we will speak with the executive director of a New York-based organization specializing in conflict resolution. If you ever have experienced conflict, you won't want to miss this episode. I want to be transparent about my involvement in the organization, where Donna Ramlow is the director. I currently serve on its board, but this will not infringe on my objectivity. Donna, welcome to the DNA of the News.
Thank you for having me.
Donna Ramlow is the Executive Director of the Dispute Resolution Center of Hudson Valley of New York. Donna started with the agency as a CASA volunteer in 1992. Was hired in 1994 as PT Assistant Director for CASA, and PT Mediation Coordinator. She continued to be promoted, and held a variety of positions: Director of Mediation, Agency Director and Deputy Executive Director, and was appointed by the DRC Board in July 2015 as the Executive Director. Donna has been involved in developing and implementation of many of the programs offered through the DRC. She has been a certified mediator since 1994. Currently, she is part of the Board of Directors New York State Dispute Resolution Center, President 2021 and 2022. Advisory Board Member for Office of the Aging, of Ethics in Orange County, for Relatives as Parents Program and for Family Court Child Care Center. She is also member of National Association of Professional Women and member of Joint Mental Health and Community Agency.
The Dispute Resolution Center, a not-for-profit organization you preside over, has operated for over 40 years. What does it do, and to where do you provide your services?
Sure. We provide our services to Orange, Putnam, Sullivan, and Ulster counties, and we provide our services to anyone who needs it. We mainly do mediation, helping people to resolve any conflict that they might have, neighborhood problem, consumer merchant, family issues, kid issues. We pretty much do it all to just help them resolve whatever it is that may bring them to court or keep them out of court.
So your primary tool for the resolution of conflict is mediation. I'm going to appeal to your experience. What should a mediator keep in mind as they start an involvement in a heated dispute? And what can you realistically expect from the parties in conflict?
Well, the main thing that a mediator needs to keep is their neutrality. They have to go in. That's why we tell them nothing about the case other than whether it's a family or a community dispute. And they listen to the parties talk about their issues. They ask the right questions to help them resolve the issues, but they have to keep an open mind. And we train all of our volunteer mediators in basic mediation and then in a lot of specialty mediations so that they have all the tools that they need. But it's mainly neutrality, open-mindedness, and just asking the right questions to help the clients, because what we find with the main problem with conflict is communication. If people communicated, they might be able to resolve it. So that's what we provide, the communication.
And what can be realistically expected from those in conflict?
Anger, frustration. It used to be, that we would do them in person. So we always had to make sure that everyone was going to be safe. Now we do all of our mediations virtually. So our mediators have to learn how to diffuse any issues that might start, rising up, keeping people calm, not screaming and yelling, but sometimes you get your names called, and now people can just shut their computer down and the mediation is over. It happens rarely. Most of the time, once we start, working with them, they're able to resolve their issues, or at least be in a better place to resolve them.
We often hear about mediation as an alternative to divorce and family courts. How does your organization get involved? What is the mediation process like? And what are the advantages for the parties to opt for mediation over a divorce process in the courts?
Sure. Yeah, we do a lot of divorce mediation. A lot of it is usually just people looking us up on the website and coming to us before they go to court. Because once they get into court, it creates a little bit more conflict. So long as they're able to talk to each other civilly, then we're able to do the mediation through divorce. It's less expensive because you're using two mediators. One mediator is always an attorney. Sometimes we have two attorneys, but they do not give legal advice. They just help them to come to an agreement on everything that needs to be put into their settlement agreement. We work with them on that. And then once they have agreed to everything, then they take that document, which is called a memorandum of understanding, and they take that to an attorney, and an attorney draws up the settlement agreement.
And that settlement will be presented to the courts. Is that what
Correct.
happens?
Correct.
One of the popular programs, perhaps connected with the courts as well, is what the DRC refers to as the Parents Apart program. What are the objectives and what is the process of a typical Parents Apart program like? What do you do?
Parents Apart is an educational program. Each parent attends it separately, and it's a program that teaches them how to parent their children when they're no longer together. It can be parents that never lived together, that were never married, that they're separated, or that they're divorcing, because you have to remain, in touch with each other, involved with each other, as long as you're alive, because you're in your children's lives. So this program just teaches you how to do that, what questions to answer with your children, because kids ask, how come dad's not here? How come mom's not here? It gives you the tools to answer the questions, to know that what you're doing is affecting your children in so many different ways. And it's provided in the evening. Like I said, each parent goes separately so you can talk freely. And plus the parents learn they're not alone. There's other parents that are going through the exact same thing that they're going through. So they learn from each other. It's a very interactive class. It is done virtually. And it just helps them to understand what's happening to their children. It's not just happening to them.
And how do the children get assisted in this Parents Apart program? They are beneficiaries, but I'm sure they have questions. They are going through a transition that they might not fully understand.
Right. And it's strictly for the parents. And they can go online and register for the program, and then they're notified if they're able, if there's room for them to get in. But it does help them to help their children, because there's a process that children go through. It's like the cycle of grief. So you just need to be able to deal with it and make sure your child doesn't stay in any one of those cycles too long.
Thank you very much. Your organization is a not-for-profit organization serving almost 800,000 people in 4 counties in New York, in the Hudson Valley. As you indicated, it also manages a program called CASA. What is CASA?
CASA is Court-Appointed Special Advocates. And yes, it's very close to my heart, because that's how I started with the agency, as a CASA volunteer. So all volunteers, also trained to be able to work with families that have had their children removed because of abuse or neglect, or in the process that may happen, that they're on the verge and they have preventive services in there. Family court assigns our CASA to a family, and then our volunteer monitors that family, everything that's happening with the biological parents, with the foster parents, and with the children, talking to the school, talking to anyone that we can get information from, and then we provide a report to the judge. And so we are like an extension of the court. We're the eyes and the ears of the court. And whereas caseworkers may have 20 cases. So it's very hard for them to do all the things that our CASA volunteers can do because they're assigned one case. So it makes a huge difference. And in a child's life that's in foster care, things change consistently. Foster parents change, teachers change, therapists change, caseworkers change. Our CASA is the constant in the child's life. And we've had CASA volunteers that go to graduations, that go to weddings, because they've had that bonding with the family. So it's a really very, very important role that our CASA volunteers have.
Thank you. And from what I understand, that is how you got connected with the Dispute Resolution Center. It was through CASA. Tell us a little bit about that experience, please.
Sure. I heard an ad on the radio looking for CASA volunteers back in 1992. And so I answered the ad because I was looking to do something and became a CASA volunteer. I volunteered for 2 years. And then the director of the program offered me an assistant director's position. And I took it. And then I just kept moving in the agency. But like I said, I have a really, strong connection to the CASA program because of
Can you tell us,
cases.
Please tell us a couple of relationships you were able to build through the CASA program with children that you helped, that you followed on as the years pass.
Yeah, I had back one family that I worked with was able to get the children, back with mom, helping, give the court the right information. And when her daughter got a little bit older, had a child, and there was issues with, her daughter and her grandchild, she asked the judge if a CASA could be assigned, and she asked if I could be assigned to the case. So after, many years, I went back to that family and worked with both of them. So the relationship was there, and I was able to help her daughter and her grandchild. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much. We are going to take a short break and we'll be right back, and we'll learn more about mediation, and we'll be learning more about how the volunteers get trained and so much more. And we'll be right back.
You don't have to go alone when life gets hard. When a marriage is ending, there is often sadness, anger, and uncertainty. Tackling the difficult decisions can be overwhelming. A mediator can help you through this stressful time. The mediator keeps you focusing forward while facilitating negotiations between you and your spouse and assisting you in reaching solutions for your family. The mediator will ensure that you have the knowledge you need to make informed decisions. Divorce mediation allows you to resolve your differences in a process that you control and is often less expensive than the traditional divorce. In addition, once you and your spouse reach agreement, those decisions will be reduced to writing, forming the foundation for the divorce agreement. Contact us and let us help you. Serving the Hudson Valley for over 40 years, experience is a gentle, powerful difference.
Donna, she's joining us from the Hudson Valley in the state of New York. She presides over the Dispute Resolution Center, an organization that's over 40 years old, helping people, regular people, helping in the courts as well. So, how do you provide the services that you provide as an advocate for children, the elderly, the disabled, and then trained volunteers to be able to operate in all those situations. Please tell us how you qualify them and who are your typical volunteers.
Sure, sure. Well, usually somebody will hear about, being a mediator, and they'll contact our agency, and we set up an interview with them. We ask them certain questions. There's no real qualification that you have to become the mediator, but we want people to be able to commit to doing the mediations. Once they've been interviewed and we set up a training, the basic mediation training is 32 hours. And once they've completed that training, then there's what's called an apprenticeship. So they will observe so many mediations, then they will co-mediate with an experienced mediator, and then they'll have staff mediate with them so that we can see if they're ready to be put on the panel. And once they're on the panel, they're able to do strictly community mediation, small claims, neighborhood issues, anything like that. If they want to move forward and do our family mediation, our elder mediation, our parent youth mediation, there's additional training. All this is provided to the mediator once they've been volunteering for us for a while, and then they're able to do all those specialties. We also do special ed mediation, and we do lemon law, which that is provided to us by the state. They provide the training, but we do the actual cases. So it's an intense training. There's always additional training. We also do a lot of in-services. They're required to do at least 6 hours of continuing education every year that we provide. So we have speakers come in. We have a lot of times we bring everybody in and do role playing if we see that, things aren't going the way they should go. So there's we monitor them. We want quality because these people, our volunteers are taking care of the community people that may have issues. So we want to make sure they're providing quality service.
So after mediation or any of the services you provide, is there a survey the program's beneficiaries fill out and send you for quality control?
Yes, we provide a survey that has been established by the Unified Court System for us to provide to our clients. Sometimes they fill them out, sometimes they don't, which is an issue. Usually they'll fill them out if they're not happy about something, and we need to know that. So what we're doing now is our coordinators are calling anyone that has done a mediation, whether there was an agreement or not, and asking them these questions as to how they felt the process went. This is how we find out if a mediator isn't as neutral as they should be, because sometimes it is very difficult.
Well, thank you. It is impressive that you have spent most of your professional life in conflict, resolving it. While conflict is normal and bound to occur, handling it is essential for long-term relationship for success. What do you know now that you didn't know at the start of your career in conflict resolution?
How important communication is. I mean, I can give you an example of one of my cases that I mediated. It was an older woman was taking her neighbor to court because she wanted him to cut down his tree. And the problem was a limb was hanging over in her yard and there was a lot of leaves falling. And so the judge said, I can't make a decision on this, go to mediation. I mediated it after listening to everybody and asking the right questions. It was determined that she was angry at her neighbor because once her husband passed away, she was no longer invited to the barbecues, the birthday parties. And the neighbor felt that since she was alone, she wouldn't want to come. So once this was put out on the table, they just worked out all their issues. And the neighbors decided that he would send his sons over to rake the leaves and that she would always be invited. And she was just so happy. The problem would have been so much easier if she had just said to her neighbor, how come you're not inviting me anymore? But instead, she took him to court. And this usually, if there's minor things like this, there's always an underlying issue that's creating the conflict. And in mediation, that issue comes out. In court, it can't because, things that are yes, no, or, there's always a winner and a loser in court. In mediation, they can be two winners. So that's one of the great things with this process.
I assume when you walk into a mediation situation, there is a lot of tension that you can cut it with a knife
Yes,
in the room.
yes.
Okay, how do you diffuse that?
Well, especially with family, because if the court sent them to mediation, you've got one that's looking out the window and the other one's looking at the wall and says, I got nothing to say to each other. But when you just ask the right questions, we do so much role playing with our mediators and give them really tough situations. And then they learn from those role playing what they can ask so that it would diffuse it. And sometimes it can't be diffused. There's some people that just want conflict and don't want to resolve it. And our mediators are very aware of this. So it's all about talking to them, asking them the right questions to try to get them to start talking to each other. I mean, because it's not the mediator's agreement, it's the parties' agreement. And that's what's so important.
Thank you. In your mediation services or advocacy specialties for children, please tell us about elder mediation issues that become more prominent as time passes on.
A lot of it, unfortunately, is children fighting with each other, about the care of a parent or whether a parent should sell their home, so it becomes same thing. They're not talking about it. Everybody has their own feelings about what should be happening with mom or dad or both. So usually we'll get the siblings all together and sit down and try and work out a plan. A lot of the elder issues are with someone taking advantage of the elder population, someone who's a contractor, feels, especially if it's an elder woman by herself, they figure she doesn't know what's going on and they take advantage. There are so many issues like that. And fortunately, the Office of the Aging will refer these, people to us. Sometimes they'll just be calling and asking for help, and we're able to help them resolve some of the issues. Because usually once we get involved, if it's a contractor that's taken advantage, they'll pretty much go back and fix whatever needs to be fixed because there's somebody that is advocating for this elder.
And in all these years of experience, at what point was the moment when you realized that you had the skills to do this and you had like an aha moment to say, well, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. When I went home one evening and my husband was screaming and yelling at somebody on the phone, we had sold somebody a car and he wasn't happy with it. And they were both just screaming back and forth. So I took the phone, I spoke to the gentleman, we worked something out and I hung up and my husband was like, just staring at me. And he said, how did you do that? And I said, mediation. And he went, I need that training. So he also became a mediator. So, and it even was to me like, wow, I was able to do that, even though it was something that was personal. So I've used my mediator skills in a lot of different, areas in my life. So it's definitely a good skill. So anyone who's looking to try to resolve some conflict, I'm going to become a mediator.
Great. And in closing, what do you wish we remember the most when we think about the work carried out by your not-for-profit organization? What do you want us to remember of this interview?
That we do help a lot of people, and we're here. Majority of our services are free. So it's something that, we just want more and more people to be aware of what we do, and use us. We're here for the community to help them resolve the conflict that they may be going through.
Donna, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope to have you back in the program sometime soon. I wish you the best, and thank you for your service and the service of your organization to the community.
Well, thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
If you have that conciliatory spirit, we are looking for you. Become part of the group of volunteers in the Alternative Dispute Resolution Program. Become a professional mediator and help resolve conflicts in your community. We provide the training. It will only take a little of your time, and it will be a unique opportunity to do something positive for the community. Are you ready? Contact us. Serving the Hudson Valley for over 40 years. Experience is a gentle, powerful difference.
Conflict is part of life and can sometimes be difficult to resolve or diffuse. It's essential to find ways to communicate with respect and empathy when in conflict and try to understand the other side's needs and perspectives. Mediation or arbitration are viable alternatives to the legal route. They can help us find faster and less expensive resolutions to conflict. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your day until the next opportunity when we offer you another edition of the DNA of the News here from New York. Thank you again.